Hey, let's go to Over the Edge in 1999 in Kansas City Kemper Arena. You were in the match. You were going to referee the match when Owen Hart fell and to his death in the ring. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And who was Owen working there?
He's working Godfather.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to work the Godfather. And so y'all had the match, or the match was going to go to the ring. You're standing there. Dude, what happened?
Right before that match, there was a hardcore match. There was a bunch of, like broken pieces of table and that sort of stuff. So we were clearing out the ring, and I had my hand. I was holding the rope, and I was like working my way down the side of the ring, kicking stuff out, and just trying to help clean it up while the promo was going on the big Tron of the Blue Blazer, which was Owen. And as I was kicking stuff up, I was actually moving towards that corner, and I heard something. I didn't hear, like, obviously, people popped, and so I assumed it was the crowd. And then, like, hard to explain. It's like in a matter of less than a second, the top rope that I was holding had pulled out of my hand and snapped back. And at that instant, I also felt something brush against the side of my head. First thing that popped in my mind is somebody threw something. So I started kind of ducking my head and looking around to see what was going on. And I turned around, and in that corner there, man, Owen was there, and I didn't put two and two together. I was just like in shock, and I kind of moved over closer, and I called out to him a few times, and got no response. And then I just panicked and started screaming to the timekeeper, "Get people out here, something's not right."
The WWF wanted Owen to make a bumbling superhero's entrance, which involves swooping down from the rafters and comically flapping his arms to seem as if he was flying. The stunt entrance was similar to what Sting had been doing in WCW, and he had done it in numerous times without any problems. They had actually performed the stunt successfully on an episode of Sunday Night Heat, where he came swooping down and comically couldn't get out of his harness. The stunt team on this occasion involved riggers that set him to rappel from one slide wire, similar to that of Shawn Michaels' entrance at WrestleMania 12. This way seemed safer, as he did not need to release himself at any time, and with the wire he was able to bring himself back up without any problems. Since the stunt was successful, the WWF creative team headed by Vince Russo wanted the entrance to be funnier by having Owen release himself just at the last point to seem it looked like he fell flat on his face. For the pay-per-view Over the Edge, Owen was booked to win the Intercontinental Championship for the third time and go over, defeating the Godfather. On the 23rd of May 1999 at the Kemper Arena, Kansas City, Missouri, stunt rigger Bobby Talbot had advised Owen go through a number of dry runs with the harness on. Even though Owen wasn't afraid of heights, he still didn't feel comfortable in doing the stunt and declined the dry run. Talbot requested that Owen should familiarize himself with the equipment as it was a different setup. Owen shrugged it off and told him that he'd done it before, so no big deal. Owen was also persuaded to practice at least once by WWF's Vice President of Events, Steve Taylor. But no matter what many could tell of Owen's uncomfortable attitude towards the stunt, but in Owen's mind, after declining the Lewis storylines, what would be available next, and so he proceeded on. He was due to make a practice run at 2 p.m. immediately after his workout. 2 p.m. arrived and Owen failed to turn up. He clearly did not want to go through with the stunt. But finally, at exactly 3:30 p.m, Owen tried the test run. He was advised not to touch the release cord before landing in the ring. The test run was successful, even though Owen's cape made it hard to keep his hands away from the release cord. After bumping into legend Harley Race and his wife, who jokingly remarked, "Be careful, that rope doesn't break," he headed to section 221, climbed the rickety wooden ladder to the catwalk above. There above, amongst some electrical wiring, was a 100-foot-odd length of rope ready to rappel Owen down to the surface below. Remember, this stunt was different to the one used in the first stunt. This had a quick release mechanism, which was given by the idea by Vince. He wanted the quick release because a harness would have taken too long to get out of. As Owen took his cue to rappel down the rope, he noticed his cape was giving him bother. If not positioned properly, it could have strangled him. Owen took his mark and leapt off. But midway through, at 78 feet in the air, Owen's release mechanism had triggered. With no rope to hang on, Owen fell straight down, landing chest first onto the top rope. The fall was almost a foot away from the nearest turnbuckle. Audience members looking on were confused and horrified as to what they just witnessed. Was it part of the show? Was it a mannequin? They did not know. Jimmy Corderas, who refereed the match, noted that Owen was screaming something on the way down. He remarked in an interview that Owen was most likely telling him to move out the way. Unfortunately, still on the way down, his flailing lead had hit Jimmy Corderas straight in the head. However, things were much worse for Owen. He was unconscious due to the violent impact that tore his aorta. His lungs began to fill with blood almost instantly. With a blank stare in his eyes, you could see that he was fading away. Jerry Lawler was seen leaping out of his seat to tend to him and signaled for the paramedics to come down and tend to Owen. As both Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler gave an update on what had transpired, Owen's life was fading as they wheeled him out to the Truman Medical Center.
Where were you when you found out about Owen?
I was actually on a plane flying to do the Jay Leno show, which I never did do, and just found out on the plane about Owen, which was really hard. You don't ever want to find out about a tragedy on an airplane. Trust me on that one.
Well, there's never, ever a good time to find out absolutely horrible news like that. But as it turns out, you had to go to the front of the airplane and use the airplane phone to find out and to have this conversation in front of the other passengers. I mean, I can't imagine a worse way of finding out something like that.
Oh, and there's nowhere to go. I mean, I found out, actually there was like 1 or 2 people up in first class when I got the message, and every phone on the flight I was on, none of them worked. And the one phone that did worked by the one passenger that was on there. And of course, I had to find all this stuff out right with this passenger beside me, who really didn't know what the heck I was doing, but it was really hard. Nowhere to go. You can't go pace or even think, or you can't escape even. Not that you ever can, but yeah, that was really hard.
What about the stunt itself? Owen did not want to do that stunt. In fact, he told his wife he was not going to do it.
Yeah, Owen was a really very careful, smart, cautious guy. He left the house saying he definitely would not do it, and sort of let Martha's worst fears sort of rest, because she was really uncomfortable with him doing it at all. But wrestling is one of those things where, you know, they can put such pressure on you, you know, because they can put a title on you. He was going to win the Intercontinental title on that day, which would have been a big sort of boon to his career and all that. I don't really know what made him change his mind, but I know that there's a lot of subtle force put on you all the time, and there's this, and you can sort of go back a few years earlier to what happened to me in Montreal. When you don't play by their rules, they will do everything they can to destroy you. And no one knows Owen better than, say, I do. I don't think, in my family, and I speak as well or best for Owen when I say that Owen would not have wanted the show to go on. I don't think, if you look at anyone with any common sense in their family, no one would want the show to go on. And I think if Vince McMahon had dropped Shane McMahon from the ceiling and he splatted on the mat, I don't think he would have scraped him off the mat and sent the next match out. I actually know firsthand from the wrestlers involved that they wheeled my dead brother right past all the wrestlers, and actually pushed wrestlers out the door and said, "Go, go, go, you're on." And I think that is really insensitive and really cold. And of all people on this planet, that Vince McMahon has no right to speak for my dead brother Owen.
Brett, I don't think that Owen would want that show to go on. Frankly, I don't think anybody in the world besides Vince McMahon would want that show to go on. How cold-blooded was that decision to continue with that pay-per-view event? Well,
there's a man that would do anything for $1. The world's greatest car salesman, Vince McMahon, will do anything for $1. And he's a very spiteful, vengeful, you talk about vendettas. This guy's This good man made promises to me, made promises to my family that unfortunately certain ones accepted, and I think, you know, sold out our dead brother kind of thing. But this man will do anything. He offered me the world the day before the funeral, and 4 days later forgot every bit of it. I know since it happened, there's never been a day that I don't think about him, you know, 100 times a day. And it's just one of those things. I guess everyone has a tragedy in their life they have to deal with. But for me, you know, my whole life was tied in with wrestling, and the death was tied in with wrestling, and I sometimes fear that I'll always be sort of tied in with it myself, you know, which is sort of why I came back in the last year to WCW and tried to sort of write one more chapter rather than always be remembered as the brother of the guy that got killed in the ring. He wanted to meet me, and I said, I'll meet you in a park where I used to ride my bike, and you can tell me whatever it is you want to tell me. One of the things I was coached on by the lawyers that were yet to be actually hired, but were almost there. They said, whatever you do, don't talk about the case. And so when I did meet Vince McMahon, he tried to switch. He didn't want me to meet him in the park. He wanted me to meet him in a hotel. And I found out after that he had police stationed all around this park, and I guess he was worried that I was going to, you know, kill him or something. But
yeah, but the police were for you, Brett. You said they were for you, right?
Well, I only found out about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, that the police were all there, and they were all, I never did see a policeman, but I guess they were watching and to make sure I didn't try anything. But I was so beyond me. I said, when they actually talked about canceling the meeting, I said, or moving the meeting from the park to a hotel room, and they told me the reason why, that he was worried that I was going to kill him. It's amazing what kind of a devious, sick psychopath this guy really is. I say, I wake up in the morning every day and I feel totally fine with who I am as a person, but I can't imagine what it'd be like waking up every day and looking in the mirror and being Vince McMahon.
The fact that you've lost a brother and a couple of siblings have actually gone to your parents' house, taken documents, given them to Vince McMahon's legal team, I mean, how do you reconcile it with yourself?
You know, all I can do is look at myself. I wake up every day and I look in the mirror, and whether it's a couple of my sisters or whether it's Vince McMahon with his $1 billion that he made off wrestling, the fact is, I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I'm happy with who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've achieved. I really don't have any regrets about how I carry myself, and I'm a firm believer in what goes around comes around. There was a time when the wrestlers used to, we used to call the wrestling fans marks. You know, they were the fans, and the wrestlers were in on sort of the whole the inside of wrestling kind of thing. And I think it's really shifted completely the other way around. It's the wrestling fans that know what's going on in wrestling, but the wrestlers themselves don't. They're the marks. The wrestlers are out there hurting themselves for real now, beating themselves to death almost. And it's switched, and you know, I don't know if there's any art form in bashing somebody over the head with a chair, or you know, if you got big boobs and you can drop your pants in a wrestling ring, you get a high rating kind of thing. That's not what I loved about wrestling.
And everything you have gone through, everything your family has gone through, you still have positive recollections about your time in the ring, about wrestling. You have good memories despite all this.
Well, I was the best. I really was. I think I was the best there is and the best there was, and at this point, the best there ever will be.